All righty. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us. My name is Dr. Maura Anderson. I am the ESEA Non-Public Supervisor, and we are here for our May 6th large consultation meeting. We do have some guests joining with us, and we'll follow the agenda as I presented it to you via email. Before we get started, I do want to just highlight some norms. And those being that we will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meeting on time. Please use your cameras during the meeting. I know there may be some occasions where that is not a possibility, but to the extent possible, please use your cameras during the meeting. Also, mute your microphones unless permitted to speak. Treat each other with respect, assume good intent, listen attentively, document topics outside of the agenda and table those items for a later agenda. Avoid side conversations and or texting through the chat, and also avoid use of the cell phone while we are together. I am, as I say, don't text through the chat, going to ask you to put in your name, your title, and the school you are working with in the chat. And then you cannot chat back and forth unless you have a question. But, and as you're doing that, I want to give my team time to introduce ourselves. And Miss Shelley, I'll have you start.
Good morning. Shelley Perkins, Director, Department of State and Federal Programs.
Morning, my name is Mark Lawrence. I'm one of the ESEA coordinators.
Good morning. I'm Liz Zizzo. I'm the Title III coordinator.
Okay, and as you can see, we do have definitely others on our team, but the ones who have introduced themselves are with us today. And thank you all for being here as well. Okay, to get us started, we are going to open up with the MPS Summer Academy. We have Natalie Anderson with us, Dr. Leah Gilliam, Janelle Keller, and Anitra Stampley. I'll allow them to introduce themselves and the role that they play in the summer programs, and I'll stop sharing my screen so you all can have access to share. All right.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Natalie Anderson. I'm the manager of Extended Learning Opportunities. Summer Academy is one of the programs that falls under our office. And with me, I have two of our team that's going to share the presentation, Ms. Anitra Stampley and Ms. Janelle Keller. I'll turn it over to Anitra.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Are you all able to see our PowerPoint presentation?
Yes,
Awesome.
ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, for allowing us the opportunity to share about a Summer Academy. Summer Academy this year, here we are. We are focusing on the 5 priorities of success for Milwaukee Public Schools. And Summer Academy is used to increase the academic achievement and accountability. And so our strategic plan, which is driving our mission, we're really hitting all of these, but student achievement and graduation is our primary focus. We're going to start off with sharing a little bit of data from last school year, Summer Academy. And so I'll start with the high school students. We surveyed around 200 students. We wanted to get their feedback about how programming went for them last year. And about 80 of those students in the high school said that they learned something new. The majority of them also felt they were ready for the start of the next school year. However, we saw a dip when we asked them, would they attend Summer Academy again? And so after looking at the results, we came to the conclusion that the majority of our high school students are attending the Academy for credit recovery. Although that's our biggest draw for Summer Academy, that is not our only focus. So to see that the majority of them do not want to return, that is actually a good thing. The goal is to have them achieve those credits during the school year so that the academy is not needed at the summer. But when looking at the elementary age students, we saw higher results. Most of them felt like they learned a lot. They enjoyed the adventures. The adventures are the field trips that are provided to the students throughout summer academy. So that is really one of our highlights. Academics is important, but when we couple it with adventure, it becomes a memorable moment for our students. The majority of them enjoyed the curriculum, and they also said they would like to return again. So overall, we believe that the survey results were favorable last summer. Some of the other highlights that happened over the summer, and this little darling right here holding her super big cell phone. This was one of our adventure days that happened during the summer. But over 2,000 courses were completed during the academy. 47 students earned college credits, and we had our largest graduating class of 155 graduates last summer. 14 new programs were offered. So the new programs are our specialties. These are courses that are based off of student interests and our staff interests. So our staff write proposals to present new coursework during the academy, and we approve 14 new courses based off of our student interests. So we were really proud about that. 137 courses were recovered in the virtual academy. So virtual night school is for 11th and 12th grade students, and this gives them a little bit more flexibility in being able to earn credits in the evening. And we also provided in-person and off-site adventures. All right, I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Janelle Keller, to give the dates of the academy.
Hello. So this summer's Summer Academy will have one session only, and those dates will take place July 7th to July 31st. Student attendance time frame will consist of 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. Monday through Friday, and that is consistent for all grade levels for students for programming. With the high school, students will be focusing on credit acceleration, which will be first time attempt courses, credit recovery to attain credits previously attempted, and additional enrichment opportunities. Middle school students will be completing integrated project based focus, and then elementary school students will also focus on an intensive literacy focus based on Act 20 legislation. This summer, we are at a total of 15 sites. We have 10 elementary sites ranging from the south side of Milwaukee all the way to the northwest side of Milwaukee. And then we have 4 site options for high school, of course, on the north and south side as well. And we have 1 Montessori site being McDowell this summer. And some of the different sites are providing ESY services as well as ESL, bilingual. So please make sure you review the chart to see which buildings offer the specific programming needs for your students. Next, we have the flyers for Summer Academy. One is focused on K-5 through grade 8, including the sites. And you see the lovely QR code that is attached on the flyer that allows for families to easily access the application, and it takes them directly to the link. And it is mobile friendly, so they are able to complete that application right from their phone. Although I will state that for high school students, may recommend completing the application on a computer if need be, because out of district students will need to upload a transcript and a letter of approval for courses from their school counselor as well. All right, back to you, Ms. Stampley.
All right, so as mentioned earlier, some of our specialty courses, all of our specialty courses are provided here. At the elementary level, we are offering 2 locations, Elm Creative Arts and Rogers Street Academy. Rogers is offering just 1 specialty course in STEM engineering. And then here's a list of the courses that are provided at Elm. Specialty courses for middle school students, grades 6 through 8, are offered at North Division High School. Here's a listing of them, as well as Obama High School. Now, I also want to remind you all that the specialty courses is an opportunity for students who are not credit deficient to still engage in rigorous learning and exploration in academic as well as the arts. Here's a listing of all of the high school grades 9 through 12 courses at Madison, North Division, Obama, and South Division. At the high school level, when you go through the Summer Academy registration guide, it will inform you of the courses that are for credit. So some of our specialty courses, high school students can earn credit. However, the majority of them are for exploration. The extended learning adventures, again, we have this little yellow bus here to show that these trips take place on campus as well as away from campus. And it's just an opportunity for students in the academy to become connected with community partners and activities that are happening outside of the school building. The registration, there are 3 applications that are available, K-5 through 5th grade, 6th through 8th grade, and 9 through 12. It is important that we inform our families of the 3 different registrations. We would hate to deny a K-5 student because they use the middle school registration. Here's a picture of what the registration will look like on the NPS website. So just to make you familiar with, this is where you will start the application. All right, and last but not least, we are providing the Freshman Bridge program. The Bridge program is for students that are in grades 9 and also students attending middle school for the first time. The dates for Freshman Bridge are August 21st through August 22nd. And that is all that we have. Are there any questions?
I know Ms. Anderson did respond to a question in the chat. Thank you so much, Ms. Anderson. Did you want to just repeat your response so that those who may not have been looking at the chat will understand who's eligible?
So there was a question in the chat about our 8th grade promotion program. Our 8th grade promotion program is tied directly to our RTI that students are receiving in the schools. So that's for NPS students only. However, our regular program for middle school does do a lot of skill building. So if you have students in the 8th grade that need that extra assistance, they can attend our regular Summer Academy program and receive extra assistance. And then there's another question about the applications. The applications are all electronic, and the QR codes and the tiny URLs are on the flyers that are in the materials you'll receive.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your entire team for sharing that wealth of information for us. There are a lot of opportunities, and we hope that some of our non-public school leaders can have their staff encourage students to participate. So are there any other questions? Any other questions?
And if you do have questions, you can always reach out to Extended Learning Opportunities, and we'll be more than happy to assist.
Awesome. Again, thank you for being here with us.
Thank
We're,
you.
you're welcome. We're going to go now to 21st Century Learning Centers. We have Leighton Cooper and Beth Marie Kurtz with us. I believe Beth Marie may be presenting. Is that correct?
That is correct. And my supervisor, Leighton, has another meeting commitment at this time. So I'll be presenting.
Well, I appreciate you joining us always, Beth. You can take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson.
Mhm.
Go ahead and share my screen.
Yes, you.
Okay. And Oh, there we go. Does everyone see the presentation on their screens now?
We sure do. It's there now.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Dr. Anderson and team, for this opportunity to share information about our summer 2025 camp, CLC, and Safe Place recreation summer programs. We're excited at the opportunity to spread the word about these programs and the opportunities for students and families to engage in high quality enrichment programming throughout the summer and for families to provide a full day of care for their children. I wanted to start by sharing some information about our 24-25 school year programs, just as a recap. So during the current 2024-25 school year, Milwaukee Recreation has operated 43 before and after school childcare camps, and those are school-based programs operated with our recreation part-time staff at school locations. And we also have operated 39 CLC, 21st CLC Community Learning Center grant funded before and after school programs, and 8 Safe Place fee-based after school programs. And these locations serve youth in grades K4 through grades 12. In 2024, moving on to summer, we served 4,676 K4 through 12th grade students across 69 summer CLC, Safe Place, and childcare camp locations, which represents an increase of more than 500 students from the summer of 2023. And we expect that number to continue to grow this summer of 2025. This summer, MPS will operate 38 summer childcare camps and 41 CLC and Safe Place summer recreation program locations, again serving youth in grades K4 through 12th grade. These programs are open to any student, not MPS students only. Any student from the community can attend our childcare camps, our CLCs, and our Safe Place summer recreation programs. All are welcome. Our MPS before and after school childcare camp programs, including those for the summer, are operated by Milwaukee Recreation childcare camp staff. Our CLC and Safe Place summer recreation programs and school year programs are operated in partnership with local community-based or youth-serving organizations. And a list of our current community-based organizations or lead agency partners, as we call them, are listed below. And we don't want to acknowledge all of their tremendous support in ensuring that those programs are staffed and operate safely every day. And so we appreciate America Scores, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Milwaukee, Children's Outing Association or COA, Journey House, Milwaukee Children's Center, New Life Community Development, Neighborhood House, and Silver Spring Neighborhood Center. This summer in 2025, you'll find some information here regarding those programs. Again, our dates are Monday, June 23rd through August 1st, and that's Monday through Friday. We do have some locations that will be operating through August 8th. Most of our camp locations will be operating for an extended week through August 8th, and a couple of our CLC or Safe Place programs will operate through August 8th. None of our programs will be open on Friday, July 4th. All programming for recreation is closed on that date. In general, while program hours vary from site to site, elementary and K-8 program hours are from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Regular programming is from 9 a.m. to 4, with early drop-off and late pickup from 7:30 to 9 and 4 to 6 for working families. At our middle and high school program locations, those hours are from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And again, individual program dates and hours may vary, but programs should be open every day, Monday, June 23rd through August 1st or through August 8th. And if you're looking for a list of our before and after school programs, are you all still seeing my screen? And has it changed to the recreation webpage now? Yep, great. So if you visit our recreation website, you'll see a list on our landing page for before and after school programs of our current school year site list, and now you'll see a list of our summer program locations. So we encourage you to share that information with families and spread the word. But again, our summer program hours will be consistent across sites. And you can see here a list of our program locations. You'll see at the bottom of the list here are two different tabs. One has a list of our childcare camp locations, and the other has a list of our CLC and Safe Place locations. And on these forms, or on these sheets rather, you'll see for families who are eligible for Wisconsin child care subsidies, you'll see that their DCF provider number and location number are also provided. And again, all families are welcome. And oh, looks like I've lost my, there we go.
Yeah, you're back.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So just again, for our summer recreation programs, we provide an array of academic enrichment and recreation enrichment programming for children and teens, including weekly field trips. Some of our programs may charge a fee, but those fees are nominal. And again, as I mentioned, families eligible for state childcare subsidies may authorize the camp or CLC or Safe Place program as their approved childcare provider. Some special highlighted programming that we're offering this summer at our CLC and Safe Place programs. We offer a program called Summer Excel. Excel stands for Exciting Camps for Enrichment and Learning. And some of those camps that we'll be offering there this summer, those are primarily for grades 6 through 12, include fashion or sewing, digital music production, camping essentials, graphic design and 3D printing, swimming, and much more. And then our camp programs are offering a similar program called Aspire, and they will be offering dancing, sewing, fashion, and much more. Should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or the camp program manager, Laz Jackson, or our recreation coordinator of before and after school programs, Leighton Cooper. And I believe that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much, Beth. I see a question in the chat here. Are the applications in the email package that was emailed today? So I did put for all of the presentations that you will see, everything that's being shared, you do have in your zip folder with all of the handouts. So the full presentations, the flyers for the MPS Academy, you have all of that information with you, as well as the contact information for each presenter if you have additional questions in the future.
Sure. And Dr. Anderson, I'll just address that question about applications.
Mm-hmm.
If you visit our recreation website, you'll find that our application process is not online. It is paper. So you need to register at the location where you wish for your child to attend. So please reach out to the site coordinator or camp director for a registration packet and information. However, I will add that in support of our Summer Academy team, at our locations where Summer Academy is taking place, as well as a camp or CLC program, we are encouraging families to register for Summer Academy from July 7th through the 31st, so that their child can take advantage of having a full day and full continuum of care for the day, because our camp and CLC programs will not be operating simultaneously during the day while Summer Academy in that morning time from 8 to noon while Summer Academy is taking place. Instead, at those locations, the CLC Camp or Safe Place program will start at noon, only on the dates the Summer Academy is operating. For the 2 weeks prior to Summer Academy starting, those programs will be operating all day long from 7:30 in the morning till 6 in the evening. But just during Summer Academy weeks, those programs will operate after 12 o'clock through 6 o'clock at those locations.
That's awesome that you're giving the children an opportunity to have a full day, as you said. So thank you so much, Beth. Are there any other questions? Any other questions for Beth? Okay, before I continue with the presentation, from time to time we may have a DPI staff member join us, and we are welcoming Amy, who is here with us today. Amy, if you want to just unmute and say hello to the non-public school leaders. They did put their names and schools and their titles in the chat, but feel free to just welcome them, say hello, and let them know what you do at DPI, please.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me today. I am Amy Michelik. I do multilingual learners in Title III for the Department of Public Instruction, and I am very excited to hear what's happening in the Milwaukee area this morning. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You are always welcome. Thank you for joining us. We know your schedules, as all of ours, are very busy, but we appreciate you being here today.
Yeah.
So then we will continue on with our presentation. Then we have next up Dr. Joanne Burr with the IDEA Specialized Services. Dr. Burr, are
Good
you
morning,
here? Hi
everyone.
there.
Let's see. Oh, I don't know what happened. Oh,
Oh, there you are. It just takes a little minute to pop in. I'll mute so you can present.
unfortunately, my camera's here, but my presentation is showing up here. So I apologize for that. Today, I have two purposes in speaking with you. One is to talk about our child find obligations that Milwaukee Public School has. And the second one is to do the same thing we did last May, which is consult with you, and you can consult with your teachers, your parents, about what services you would like MPS to provide for equitable participation. So what special ed services you would like the district to provide for the 2025-26 school year. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So with Child Find, as all of you know, MPS is the local education agency that are attending for children that are attending private schools that are in the city of Milwaukee. And it is MPS's responsibility to locate and evaluate any student who may have a disability. For private schools, that is any student that is attending a private school in the city of Milwaukee. And I'm sure we receive many special education referrals, and you should continue to submit the referrals to the email childfindreferrals@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Does anyone have any questions about the child find process? And I'm unable to see the chat, so please let me know, Dr. Anderson. No? Okay.
No questions in the chat yet. Now keep my eye on it.
Okay. Equitable participation. That is defined under the federal law, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. And what IDEA states is that school districts have an obligation to provide parentally placed private school students with disabilities an opportunity to receive special education services. And those services are funded through federal Part B formula. And we're going to go over that shortly. So it also requires that we consult with representatives of the private schools to find out what services they would like their students to receive. So that is the purpose of this meeting. Now, as I said, it's funded through Part B Part B, Federal Formula Part B. Sorry, I'm not familiar with all of this. To determine how much money is required to be spent on special education services or materials or consultation or professional development for private schools. And this year, our formula indicates that we are required to spend approximately $1.2 million towards special ed services on the private school students. And I'd like to thank the finance department for providing that information to me. So I wanted to take a look into who are the special education students that are attending our private schools. And so I took the primary disability of the private school students and charted out what is the approximate population of your students' special education needs. And as you can see, this is based on this year. 4% of your students are students with autism, 20% are students with specific learning disabilities, and you can continue to read that, but the vast majority are students with speech and language impairment. Any questions about that? No? For the 2024-25 school year, these are the services that were selected. Students who have a primary specific learning disability in grades 3 through 6 are eligible to receive a service plan. Children who have a primary significant developmental delay, age K4 through age 9, and also students who have a primary speech and language disability. And this year we did K4 through K5 and through December of their students' first grade year. Now, the number of current students are the ones that are currently receiving services. They're not the total number of students that have received services this school year. Some have been dismissed from services, or some have aged out of services. But this is the approximate number of students that are at this moment receiving services. So I want to consult with you and get your input on what type of services you would like to students to receive next year. And the regulations specify that MPS would make the final decision about services, but I definitely want your input because I want you to be able to best meet your students' needs. So as a reminder, the services that we can select can be direct services. So they can be like this year, they were direct services for students with a specific learning disability, SDD, and speech and language. You can also select some indirect services, such as consulting regarding special education students that you may have, that MPS could come out and consult with teachers or staff. We can also provide professional development regarding special education students, and we also can provide equipment or materials to your schools for students who are identified as having special education needs. So I would like to open it up for discussion over what type of population would you like oh, I can't speak today. What students would you like to oh, what direct services are you interested in receiving for next year? And please just unmute your mic and you can let me know.
Dr. Bird, before we switch gears to that, we do have 3 questions in the chat. Do you
Okay,
want me to share those with you?
sure,
And then we can go back to the
sure.
open
Thank you.
discussion.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one is asking, are all the children that qualify for services able to be served?
No, not all children are able to be served because it far exceeds the dollar amount. So once we are at full capacity for the number of staff that we have assigned, students are placed on a wait list.
Mm.
And once somebody is dismissed or moves or ages out of a service plan, we go to the next person on the wait list to receive services.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Does anyone have a response or an additional question regarding that answer? Is that clear?
Yes, Dr. Anderson, I have a question regarding that answer.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Easley. Good
I'm,
to
I'm
see you.
Yeah, thank you. I just have a question about like the wait list. How long is the wait list? Is there a random push? I think, and I could be wrong. I'll speak from my school alone. I've had a lot of children on the wait list. I haven't heard anything about it. It has been an entire year. I'm just concerned about how are these services being stretched across all of our schools and how it's being equitable to our students.
Okay. It's not, the equitable participation isn't necessarily school-based or student-based. It is done off of a wait list. So, as you know, students with SLD receive services from third through sixth grade. So we don't have a lot of openings happening there. SDD is K4 through age 9. So those students take a while to come off the wait list because they may receive services for a longer period of time. And that is what the private schools selected for this school year. For next school year, people can choose a shorter period of time or they could choose other services. So I go with the majority of what private schools would like for their students to receive.
So I have a follow-up question. So the
Yeah.
children that are being serviced, I mean, if they're not coming off, how many new children have been serviced this year? And then is there any way to have transparency with the wait list and how that's done?
The transparency with the wait list, it's listed by student. And of course, I can't publish that because it has student names on it. But some people call and I will tell them where they are on the wait list. And that is date and time stamped when students go on. So we know when they were added to the wait list.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other questions? Going on to the next question then, Dr. Burr, when you mention services offered, does this mean MPS sends someone to the private school to deliver the service?
That is what we have done for the past several years. And that is something that we will talk about and you can decide how you would like the services delivered. I'm old enough that I remember when students walked to their closest MPS school to receive services. So it is up to you and how you end up wanting the services delivered.
Okay, thank you.
So I would like some input into what population of students you would like to receive maybe direct services. And I'm going to scroll back in my presentation to go over the population of students with disabilities in the private schools. I will say after this discussion, tomorrow I will send Dr. Anderson a survey and everyone will put their input into the survey. And then MPS will decide and provide you with a written statement of what services will be offered next year and any reasons that we did not choose certain items that the private schools would like.
Regarding those services, Dr. Burr, we do have another question in the chat asking, do these services come out of the title funds or are these services at no cost?
The services for you are at no cost, and they come through the federal formula, the equitable participation formula, which for next year is 1.2, approximately 1.2 million in services, either direct or indirect or materials.
Okay, thank you. And then I know anything about the wait list or the difficulty for that. Like I said, Dr. Bird did provide her presentation. I believe you provided your email. If there's further information, call or email to get further clarification. But some of these questions, I have at least one additional question. If we have more on the technical side of things, Dr. Bird.
Yes.
So, if we have a new student to, if we have a new student added to our school with an IEP, how do we get the child's name on the wait list? Who do we
You
contact to do that?
If you have a service plan, if you have service plan personnel that are already working in your school, you can let them know, or you can always send me an email and I will put them on the wait list. If they have attended Milwaukee Public Schools and transfer to your private school, it is the staff at the school will put them on the wait list. I know our speech pathologists are always adding students to the wait list when they transfer schools.
Okay, thank you. And then I know you're going to share a link for a survey with me. I'll also share the chat questions so that if it's something that we didn't get to today, you can possibly provide a response. I can send that along with the survey link. In one being that they're asking what percentage of all scholars in private schools are being serviced. So I understand you may have to look at some data for that, but I'll make
Yes,
sure I share the chat questions with you.
yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else for?
I just want to continue to talk. Does anyone have any ideas or
Oh,
you
yes.
on the survey there will also be eh, you will have an ability to write a narrative as to what services you want. What I've done in the past is I've taken your discussion and I've put them into selections, but if and I can continue to put ideas out there, but you're always welcome to add your own ideas to the survey. Does anyone have where and by whom you would like the services to be provided?
May I chime in, Dr. Anderson and Dr. Burr?
Yes.
Dr. Burr,
Sure. Go ahead.
I thank you for the work that you're doing. And I think from a private school perspective, we get excited about the possibility of having the services and getting the needs. And I would love to chime in, but I get a little discouraged because the services don't reach my children. And that's, I would love to give all my feedback and then we're excited about what's going to happen, but it's not reaching the children.
Right. Well, it does reach a large number of children. This year we're spending approximately 1.5 million.
How many children are we servicing with that 1.5 million? And
I
how
don't,
many
I have
children?
not looked throughout the school year. I only
Okay.
looked at current numbers.
I would like if you can please give us that information, the total, because we could be servicing 500 children, which could only be 20%. So if we're
Correct.
only hitting 20% or 10%, that's not good. So I will ask to see if we can look at ways and how we can service more children.
Right. And one way might be to not have the large ages. So maybe SDD wouldn't go K4 through age 9, but that's up to you guys. I want to hear your input as to what age groups, are there any special populations you want to receive services? Do you want the services received virtually, which you can see more children virtually as opposed to travel time? So those are things that I want your input on.
Thank you, ma'am.
Does anyone have any input as to that? So what I will do is I will put some ideas out in the survey, but please, please write what you would like, and please talk to your parents as to what services they would like for their children to receive also. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Hey. No, thank you again for joining us, Dr. Burr. And again, I did add your presentation with the others, so they will have access, and I look forward to receiving the survey
And
so I
with
can
the
get that out.
survey, there will be a form about the consultation, just saying that you were there for the consultation.
That's the affirmation form you're speaking of, Dr. Burr?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. And so in your presentation or with the survey, can you please make sure you give them the correct email address and or person if it's not you for whom to send that affirmation to? Sometimes they send it to our office, but it's a
Yes, I
separate
will do that.
affirmation form.
Yep.
Okay, yep. So we'll make sure I get that information out to you all as soon as I get it. And again, thank you for your participation in collaboration with Dr. Burr.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then we will move on then with the ESEA titles presentation portion, and I'll let Ms. Shelley speak.
Good morning. Can everyone
Morning.
hear me? Yes, okay.
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Ms.
FY
Shelley.
26 Title I, Title II, and Title IV allocations are preliminary estimates that are based on historical funding levels provided by the state in prior years. Each year we share these early estimates with private school officials to support timely consultation and planning with vendors, ensuring that services can begin on July 1st. Please note that these allocations do not include carryover funds and are subject to change, either increasing or decreasing as final figures become available. And with our Title III, we did not provide a preliminary estimated allocation yet. Those numbers are based on the access test. So those will come out later. But as you're meeting with your service provider, please use your current FY25 Title III allocation to plan that out. As a reminder, we haven't received any allocations from DPI as of yet. So these are, again, just estimated numbers that we have developed so that services can start being planned for FY26.
Thank you. And are there any questions about the preliminary allocations? And we'll move on
Dr.
to,
Anderson, I have a question in the
oh,
chat.
oh, I apologize.
Are
I did not
preliminary
see it.
funds allocated every year from the previous year? Are you talking about for Title III or all?
All.
So normally with the preliminary funds, yes, we don't receive the funds from DPI this early, and I'm not certain when they actually receive it from the federal government, but normally it's always based off of estimated numbers, looking at the previous year's allocations and trying to determine how much we'll receive as a district and trying to provide a preliminary allocation for planning services. I believe some years ago, we did also decide through consultation with the private schools that we would not do an estimated carryover so that we're not limiting the amount of the percentage that you can spend for the preliminary allocation. So in the past, we would say you can only spend only a certain percentage, where we decided that we wouldn't include an estimated carryover, and we would just do a preliminary estimated amount and allow you to start working with your service provider to plan out what's the best way to utilize those funds to meet the needs of your students. And many people do a July summer school or a jump start in August. And so we wanted to ensure that, we provide timely services and that there isn't a lag in services. So that's why we've done this for years.
Ms. Perkins, just one more clarifying question. Thank you for that response. My other clarifying question, just for my knowledge. So the funds that we get for title, and I know it's based off our enrollment, so for example, my funds that's allocated to me for this school year was based off of my last year's enrollment, or will
Mhm.
it be changed based off third Friday count? Because my number, with us being a new school, our enrollment doubled this year, but my allocation was still based off of the amount of scholars I had last year. So is it always lagging a year behind?
Yes, we always collect the enrollment from the previous year. So the enrollment that you submitted this October for this current FY25 year, we use that to determine FY26 allocations. And we do that for both our public and private schools.
Okay.
So that we can plan it out. And usually it will balance itself out, because we've had it both ways sometimes. And so did you guys, I guess and we maybe can talk offline. I don't know if did you guys add grade level, or how
So
did
we added a grade level, but we also doubled in size. And so our title budget was so small. Our year one was 39 students. Our year two was 67. But we were operating off of a title budget for 39 with 67. We're
Mhm.
currently enrolled for 89 for next year. And so that really, we just have we have less funds when
Yeah.
we have more children. And I wasn't sure if the money should follow the children for the year they're in the school, because it's like half the amount of money that I'm getting. Because
Yeah, and the money doesn't follow the students. We always use the previous enrollment. And sometimes it could land either way. Sometimes, a school can get more funds, but their enrollment has declined, or they can get less funds and their enrollment has increased, but it should catch up as the year. So like, you should be where you need to be for FY27.
okay, because what's happening is I'm not having enough money to pay for my title teacher, so I'm losing title instruction before the year is out,
Okay.
because my student population is larger than what I'm getting allocated for.
Mhm.
And we anticipate growing every year, at least for the next 3 years. We
And
should
are
be,
you adding a grade level every year?
we are as well. So we will
Okay,
be
so
adding until
you
8.
added a grade level this year and will be adding a grade level next year?
Yep, and the
Okay,
following year.
so then let's talk about that, because I don't think that we were aware of that. And then we do have like different scenarios where we follow a different rule if a
Okay.
school is adding a grade level, but we have to be informed and know that. So we should connect. Let's connect um, if we can sometime today or sometime this week to
Oh,
get
no
more
problem.
information.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, because we
Thanks for
actually,
bringing that up. And that
yeah.
just points out the importance of us knowing, because yes, sometimes we have schools that we call that a significant program change.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, we have some schools that may eliminate grade levels, or if they're adding a grade level each year, and with both our public and our private schools, then we treat it differently.
Okay.
And so it's important that, there's different things that's going on at the private schools. And if we don't know, we can't determine how to handle it in the appropriate way. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Awesome. Then if there aren't any other questions, we'll continue on with Ms. Perkins for aligning funding.
And then for aligning funding, it's kind of goes to Ms. Easley question. We do have some private schools that have, a lot of funding where, it's hard to spend it all. And then we have some schools that don't have enough and they run out before the year ends. And so it's important with planning to work with your service provider in, coordinating those funds to best meet the needs of your students, looking at all of the funding sources and seeing, for example, with Title I, you may use that for instruction and then decide to use Title II to provide professional development for those teachers, and then have some of that come out of Title IV, or using Title IV to support students and teachers' mental health services. So please work with your service provider with planning out how to best meet the needs of your students and, your staff. And this is a time to consult around services. It's not us telling you what services should look like, but having that conversation on how the services can best meet the needs of your students. And if you have any questions, please reach out to your service providers, or also reach out to our office for additional questions or concerns. And then when completing your pre-approval for those services, make sure, like, if you're doing a professional development, and if you want part of it paid out of Title II and then the other part may be paid out of Title IV, please indicate that right away on the pre-approval, so that you don't have to submit separate pre-approvals for that. We're also looking at trying to improve our processes with trying to come up with pre-approved lists, because a lot of times we're seeing things that are allowed, and then to keep having to submit pre-approvals just doesn't seem efficient. So that's something too that we're trying to work on improving for FY26. And if I missed any questions in the chat, we'll be sure to get those out to you through the listserv and get responses.
Yeah, no, we caught up with the chat questions, as I can tell, but we'll continue using the chat throughout the meeting, because as Ms. Shelley said, we will get information back, answers back. Well, thank you, Ms. Shelley, so much for sharing that information, and we will move forward then with our presentation. And I know that we have these ongoing consultation meetings to stay abreast with the services that you are receiving from our third-party vendors serving as your service providers, as well as making sure that we're able to monitor our programming. And so some of this information may be familiar, but again, if you have questions, feel free to use a chat. You may unmute if it's a quick question that we may be able to respond to. Otherwise, we will get email responses back based on what is submitted in the chat. For instructional minutes, Title will continue to implement a flexible model based on individual school needs. There is a 90-minute maximum for Title I instruction. Generally, Title I instruction can be up to 120 minutes. If you are not using the 120-minute model, please fill out the instructional minutes program change form request that is part of your handouts packet. And then that way the vendors can provide that information to us so we'll know how to process invoices and things like that based on your design for the program. Also submit that form to, I'm sorry, also make sure that the private school official signs the form. I know we are working with your schools through the vendor service providers, but we do need official signatures when these requests are being made. So make sure that that information is signed off on and have your vendor share that information with us. Are there any questions about the requirements for instructional minutes? Yes, 90-minute minimum for title instruction, supplemental targeted title instruction. That is the minimum, but you may have up to 120 minutes.
Is that per week or per day, or what is that specifically? Per
So
week?
we're talking about class structure. The design of the program you work through with your service provider. You have a choice as to, whether you have 2 days a week or 4 days a week or whatever is allowed based on the um, title staff that is able to be provided to your school. So that you work out with your vendors. We don't have a set limit on that. But it's up to you can, if you need to reduce your time, you can go as low as 90 minutes. And again, I believe that is moving towards per week.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your question. Okay, then we're going to move on to the instructional planning schedule. Title 1A instruction is for the most in need. Again, we continually repeat that this is a targeted assistant program. It is supplemental to the general education that they receive in your schools. Please again work with your vendor to plan with Title I intervention in mind. We do want to emphasize that this planning process is meant to be collaborative. The plans that you're making cannot benefit the entire school. We are solely focusing on those targeted students who have been selected based on the ranks of the eligibility roster, and we'll speak about that later in the presentation. And then, Liz, do you want to speak about Title III?
Yeah, so for Title III, just instruction specific to English learners, and it should promote content learning and English language development. A reminder that Title III instruction is not intervention, and those instructional resources cannot support a school's intervention program.
Okay. Any questions about planning? And once those students have been identified to receive services, we do expect the STAR assessment to be applied within a week of starting services. And I know, again, you're working with your vendor on all of these requirements. It is not the school that is providing the SAR assessments. The vendors will start testing students and maintain communication with your school and teams about the students' progress. And so we just want to ensure that all Title I students have both a pre and post assessment, prior to starting and post before they exit. I know it has been brought to our attention that at times some students have not been post tested due to a sudden change in enrollment and or disciplinary issues. We understand that some of those things may fall out of our control, but we want to make sure for those items that are in our control that the students are made available to test with the vendors. And again, we need both the pre and post assessment. Um, The data and improvement of services will be discussed during the end of the year meeting with the service providers and our team, but we also know that there's monthly consultation going on with you as leaders with the service providers as well. And so we want to make sure that those meetings are efficient and beneficial to your school's needs. And as Ms. Shelley spoke earlier, if there are additional questions you have for us or you need to reach out for us if there are concerns, please feel free to do so. Yes, you are definitely connected directly to the service providers, but when and where we can be a help, we can't assist if we don't know what's happening. So feel free to reach out. Any questions about the requirements for STAR assessment? Okay, for exit criteria, once a student is selected for participation in the title program, we seek parental consent. And so once we receive that consent, we're able to begin working with the child. Because we have consent from the parent to serve the child, if it becomes a situation where the child is no longer in need of services and or for whatever reason is resistant to services and may need to have some other decisions made, and or it may be a matter of attendance. You do have the exit criteria handout in your packet, clearly identifying the comprehensive and collaborative nature of exiting a student. Exiting a student is not a unilateral decision. This is a school administrator, title teacher, school teacher, parent decision. It is not a unilateral decision. Also, the vendor cannot withdraw a student from service unless they are following the exit criteria as it is listed. And then Title III, Liz, how are students exited?
So for Title III, English learners would no longer qualify for Title III services the academic year following an access score of 5.0 or higher. So an example is if Maria scored a 5.2 on the 2024-25 access test, she would still be able to attend that Title III summer program. And then in 25-26, Maria would not qualify for services.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about how to exit a student? One thing I do want to also note is when you take a look at the exit criteria, in the case of severe absenteeism, which is identified as 15 days or more consecutive absences, those students can have, we can exit those students immediately and serve another child who is in high need. So again, you just have to look at the exit criteria. Absenteeism is a case where you can have a more quick turnaround to bring in another student who may be in need of those services, but please follow those criteria.
Maura, can I just ask you a quick question? This is Cheryl Bilat from Wisconsin Lutheran High School.
Hi, Cheryl. Yes.
Hey, I just want to verify, sorry, it's just like all clicking in my head just a little bit, but the you mentioned the minimum hours for a student. I'm just thinking about sometimes our high school and our schedules. Is it 90 minutes per week? If they are just registered for math, they would have to be with the title program 90 minutes out of the week. Is that the minimum, right? Or
90
does it have
minutes.
to?
90 minutes is the minimum time for instruction, yes. But
Okay,
again, like I said, how you arrange that, we want you to work directly with your vendors because
absolutely.
if you fill out that instructional change form, you can decide, you can determine what the reason or the cause for reducing the minutes. And we know sometimes it's difficult to serve high school students.
Yeah, I'm
And
just trying to figure out what schedules like for next year and everything. And so, no, thank you.
mhm. I'm sorry, Miss Shelley, were you going to say something? I didn't know if you unmuted. Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's the key. Like we give you the expectations and the documentation for making those requests, but the vendors are going to be key to make sure they understand your school needs, your student situations. And then again, we know we are well aware, Cheryl, that the schedules for high schoolers are pretty challenging to maneuver, but we appreciate all the work that has been done so far to get service to those high school students.
you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem. You're welcome. Okay, so then we'll move on then to the needs assessment and program development. Again, going back to Ms. Shelley's statements earlier, those estimated preliminary allocations are provided so that we can hit the ground running day one, July 1st of the fiscal year. Um, we also know that there are some school transitionings happening. The vendors will be working directly with you to make sure those processes are completed by June 30th. And so there's a lot of movement, if you will, happening right now. But again, the goal is so that we can provide timely service for those populations of students and staff members who have the highest needs. And we want those services to begin right away. It will help with um, supporting the school and the school community, as well as those students and families, but also making sure that we get as much spend down as possible. And so those FY 26 NA submissions, for that process, each vendor will be responsible for sharing the NA with the schools. The vendor and the school staff will collaborate to complete all required NA sections thoroughly. And then once the NA is finalized, vendors will communicate to our department via email, and then we can begin approving those NA requests. I do want to say that similar to the PA approval, we want to make sure that we have all of the details on the NA. We want to prevent, as much back and forth as we can. And so I just want to make sure we remind you the more information, the better. Because if we cannot figure it out or if it does not make sense, we can't determine its allowability. So please, 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 we know we want you to put as much as you can on the NA, but it needs to still be as detailed as it could possibly be. Any questions about that? We have some more specific information on those details. Again, be descriptive. We're looking for details, dates and times, length of PD, enrichment activity, the type of activity, who's going to be facilitating those activities. For Title IV enrichment, are those staff members certified? Ms. Shelley did talk about us looking at some improved processes for FY26. Part of that will be looking at both entity number and licensure, but we'll work with the vendors to make sure you are prepared for what information you need to submit. Staff participants, the breakdown of all costs, again, who's providing the service for the PD and or coaching, making sure that, and the vendors will make sure we have access to their background, again, to help us determine allowability, but just you being able, you as school leaders, being able to share the information with the vendors. As we said earlier, this is a collaborative process. And so, what you do on the front end can make our work on the back end much smoother and more efficient if we have the appropriate information. As a reminder, materials requests should not be on the NA. Those are all submitted through pre-approval. We have included the FY26 pre-approval form in your packets. Again, we want you to hit the ground running for July 1. And then, of course, we have the NA approvals. With the NA, however, if you are looking at PD occurring in July and or August, we are still asking for you to submit those requests on PA because sometimes, again, if we need more additional information or have to ask questions, we don't want you to lose out on a potential service because the NA has not been approved in full. To begin acting on those items in the NA, we do need to have a fully approved NA. So PD planned for July and August, please still submit PAs. Any questions about that? Okay, so for the data summary section, and I will share my screen in just a moment, but for the data summary section, there's a guide that has been provided as an optional support to assist in the completion of the data summary section. We also have the yearly overview, and I'm sorry, Liz, I'm going over your schedule. So you read your slide and I'll get the NA ready to be pulled up. I just want to show them the Google Doc and that we're going through the same process. My apologies. Go ahead, Liz.
No problem. So for the Title III tab, there is that data summary section, and that includes a guide that's linked. It's optional. It's just to help you work through your own data and to have those conversations. There's also a section with like a brief yearly overview, which
I'm
like Dr.
sorry.
Anderson was saying, it helps give, a context, the context of what's happening in the school, what your plan is to address the needs of English learners. And as she also stated, for Title III, materials and subscriptions will not be requested on the needs assessment. Those Title III materials can be requested after that needs assessment is approved.
Okay, and then I think I had this slide ready to share. Here it is. So again, we will be using the Google Doc forms. Sometimes when you open them, you may have to, widen your cells. I'm not sure why it reduce or shrink, but I just want to go to that Title III section that Liz was talking about on that data page. This is what she was saying, there are some guides, you use them if they're helpful, but this is information that, she will need in order to be able to move through the plan and determine the allowability. Also for student enrichment, we talked about Title IV a little bit, but you'll see that we have the entity number in the DP license added. This is what we've also added now to the pre-approval form. So we will need that information both on the NA and also now on the pre-approval form. And then the other piece that I want to share, and so all of these tabs, I mean, each title has its own separate tab for the category within the title, whether it's PD, FE, or instruction for titles 1 and 4, and then title 3 Liz just shared, and then title 2, of course, we know is for professional development. But I do also want to make sure that our data page as well, this is how we determine this is how we determine the FTEs that you have in the instructional program for Title I especially. So yes, STAR is what we require to be used, but we know that there's other data that the school uses to assess student progress. And so give us all of the information that is pertinent to the services and requests that you are trying to ask for to help meet the students' needs. So the data pages are very crucial to helping us understand the requests that will then be made in the NA. And I see some questions in the chat. I'm just going to pause for a moment and see. Hold on, let me get this way. My mouse doesn't want to act right. Here we go.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
yeah.
Go ahead,
Oh,
read
I
it
was
for
just
me.
gonna say, a lifetime license holders must get a background check every 5 years to maintain the license. Correct. Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Yes, and that is huge because we did have situations to where if that background check is not done before June 30th, then the license become invalid. And that's just the same as not having a license. So that background check needs to be completed before the June 30th date of the year of that session, if you will. So every 5-year increment, June 30th, the license will become invalid unless the background check check is taken and submitted to DPI. So yes, thank you for bringing that up.
And Dr. Anderson, if I
Hmm.
could add that on the DPI or ELO, it'll indicate the last date of the background check. So if there was a background check done in 2020, then June 30th of this year, 2025, another one will need to be completed to have the valid license. So it's always important to look at the the date of the most recent background check, and that will let you know that, okay, we need to have this by June 30th. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mark. Thank you. I need to get back to our slide.
Mark, can I just ask you a quick question regarding the background check? So when I look up my license and things like that, if I renewed my license, is it automatic that they do the background check? Or that they're, or am
No,
I
ye-
submitting something or I have to do it on my own and then
yes,
submit?
we have to do it on our own. We have to submit that to DPI. Yes.
Okay.
And you have to pay it, like if there's a
Hmm.
fee with that, basically you're paying um for that background check.
Because when we pay the fee to DPI, is the fee going to do, is that fee used to do the background check or is it a completely separate something that I'm supposed to be doing? Because I trying to think even for myself. I can look into it further, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe when I did it, because I had to do it this year for next year, um, they have something where you can click to do a background check, and I
Right?
completed the information, and then it took me to now pay this amount. And once I paid it, then it showed up on the website that I
Hmm.
submitted my
Okay.
background check as of this date, which
Okay.
then
Sounds good.
shows
That
that
makes
I'm
more sense.
current. So hopefully
Okay.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shelley.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll move on to title instruction and title teachers and providing academic support. So the teachers that are hired by vendors work for the vendor and not the school. Communication from the teacher to their title students and families must come from the vendor's email and not school email. The title teacher must not be posted onto the school's roster or website as their own staff. There needs to be a specific separation between title and the school. Uh, we also want to make sure that we emphasize that we understand, especially in the case where you may have the same title teacher in your building year after year, and they may feel like family or school community family, however you want to name it. But the title program is separate, and because it is supplemental and targeted, remember, we cannot benefit school-wide. And so there's no connection, you know, paper-wise between the title teacher and the school. That communication will come from the vendors. Liz, just before you talk about Title III, I see a question. Will they send a reminder that the background check needs to be had? The answer to that is usually yes. They will send it to the email that you have. But here's the thing, if you've changed your emails and you're not keeping up with the email that you originally gave DPI when you were initially licensed, you can easily overlook it because that did happen to me. So just whatever email you have on file with DPI, that's the email that they will send it to, unless you change your profile and give them a new email. But yes, the answer is yes, they will connect with you. Okay, I'm sorry, let's go ahead.
There, there's one more question in
Oh,
the, can the title teacher be posted on the website as the title teacher connected to our vendor?
the answer to that is no. The teacher cannot be on the school roster, cannot be on the school's website, cannot use a school email. We do have with the title program, we do have the family engagement night where the title teacher is introduced to all of the parents who are allowing their children to be served. And then there are other engagement events. And then, of course, the teacher can communicate directly with the parents via the email that she has or he has assigned through the vendor. But there should be no mention of the teacher as part of the staff on the website roster or in any use of email. Thank you for asking that clarifying question.
And for Title III, just to make sure everyone's aware, the Title III teacher must hold a valid State of Wisconsin 395 license, be fully licensed and highly qualified. And by Wisconsin standards, highly qualified means appropriately licensed for the grade band / developmental level in which they are teaching.
Any questions about that? Any other questions? Okay, moving right along. For the eligibility list, so we mentioned this earlier. The full eligibility list must be completed and submitted in electronic form to MPS and on file at a private school. And so I'm actually going to interject there. You work directly with your vendor. The vendor will supply the completed and updated rolling eligibility list throughout the fiscal year to us through OneDrive. But it is the school's responsibility to prepare the eligibility list, obviously in consultation with the vendors, but the vendors are not writing your eligibility list. These are the students assigned to your school. Your teachers and staff know the students best. Once that information is prepared and the rank order is set, that information is shared with the vendor, they share it with us, and then you begin to collaboratively plan services. But I just want to clarify that it is the school's responsibility to develop the eligibility list based on, again, the data that you have presented, whether it's in the NA or the school data that you're using for your progress monitoring efforts. Any questions about that before I continue? Okay, again, and you'll hear this repeatedly throughout the presentation. The eligibility list, these services are not intended for the entire school, so we shouldn't see an entire school enrollment on the eligibility list, only those students that are in most need of services. The due date for the next rolling eligibility list is May 30th of 2025, and this is actually the list that you will use to begin services for FY26. And so following this list, the next list update will be September 30th, and that would be the initial eligibility list for FY26. But this May 30th list, all of your parent consent forms, the information that you need to send out to request parent permission to serve, that information is in your handouts, and we want you to begin again right away. Hit the ground running, and you use this list to start services for the FY26 fiscal year. Can we post the vendor on the website? Say more. What are you looking to accomplish by posting the vendor? Um,
I think that as long as if we're posting the vendor, if we're making sure that it's clear that this is an MPS service provider and that these services are provided through Milwaukee Public Schools for equitable services to the Milwaukee students, and it's not looking like um, the vendor is hired by the school or
okay.
that the teacher is part of the school staff, because it can't be and it has to be separate, then it should be fine. I think the concern is when the law says it should be separate and then it's looking like it's the private school's teacher, which we know that's not allowed.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Shelley, for clarifying that. So, did you hear that response, Dr. Easley?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was knocked off the meeting, and when I came back in, you guys were, I think, asking me a clarifying question.
Okay, so Miss Shelley did just explain as far as the vendor being
Yeah,
posted on the website. So you heard that answer, correct?
yes, just to make
Okay.
sure that it's clear that it's a service through Milwaukee Public Schools, providing equitable service to all children. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, she's shaking her
I'm
head,
sorry.
yes.
Yes, correct. So that is
Okay.
clear that it's separate. Sorry, I didn't realize I was still muted.
No, that's okay.
It's okay. I understand. I was doing the same thing.
And thank you so much again, Miss Shelley, for that clarification and for the question, Dr. Easley. Okay, continuing on with the eligibility list. When completing the eligibility form, or did I say this part already? Oh, no, this is new. Just a reminder, cannot have all students. The entire school must not be put on the form. Title I is Targeted Assistance Program. All students on the form must be ranked either 1, 2, or 3. The school eligibility form cannot have all students listed as ones. In the list, again, use that eligibility list from May 30th to begin sending home those parent consent forms for 2025-26. The rolling eligibility list allows students that are added to the eligibility list to receive services immediately. So students should only be added to title groups if there is room available, and never replace current students receiving services. So you shouldn't add students to replace current student services. You always go back to that eligibility list, and we're looking to serve those who are in the greatest need. For the MPS Title I program at non-public schools, again, I feel like a broken record. It is supplemental and targeted. Liz?
Yeah, so for Title III, eligibility for Title III services is determined by the access test scores, and students who score a 4.9 or lower on the access test are eligible for Title III services. The 24-25 access for ELLs and WIDA alternate access score reports are available in WIDA AMS, and the printed reports will arrive on or before this Friday, May 9th. And just to clarify, students enrolling throughout the year, they may be identified with evidence of the following, which would be either a qualifying access score, which is that 4.9 or lower, or if they have a valid home language survey indicating that students should be screened, and a completed screener score report showing a 4.5 or lower. And for the K-5 screener, it's a little complicated, but we will work with you, and the Title III planning assistant, Rita, will send emails as far as reminding you what needs to be done as we move throughout the year. But K-5 students will screen for an oral score, speaking and listening only during the fall of K-5. And a K-5 student who scores above a 5.0 in the first semester on the oral composite, which is listening and speaking, is not eligible for the Title III services and will not participate in the access test as a K-5 student. Those students will rescreen in the spring. And then if the oral composite score is a 4.5 or lower, then the students will take the access test as a K-5 student. And K-5 students who enroll after the access window closes will take all 4 parts of the screener. So listening, speaking, reading, and writing. I see
I'm
the
sorry. I'm
question from
sorry.
Carrie,
Go
by
ahead.
what
Yeah,
date?
I want to go back for questions.
Sure. She's asking by what date do the individuals administering the screener and access tests need to redo the training? It's an annual requirement now, correct? I don't know if there is a firm date as far as when you need to do it, but it would be in preparation for your school year. But I will double check with Jill and send an email response.
Perfect, Liz. Thank you. Any other questions regarding access testing or eligibility for Title IIIA services. Okay. Um, Now we are moving toward making sure that allocations are set aside for students. And this is especially directed toward the non-public schools that lie outside of the Milwaukee Public Schools district boundaries. So if there are out-of-district students, we need communication to occur now for those students because each LEA is responsible for the provision of equitable title services for the students that are part of their district. And so we have had issues even this year where out of district students could not receive services because the LEA did not have an allocation for the child. And I just want to review these two scenarios once again. So in one case, we might have an out-of-district student attending a school, a non-public school that is within the boundaries of Milwaukee Public Schools, and I'm referring to that as in-district by the slide. So example, St. Sebastian, which is located within the boundary of MPS district, has a student from West Allis attending, and that student is in need of service, Title I services. St. Sebastian then would reach out to West Allis to let them know that that student is enrolled and is in need of services. West Allis then would connect with our district to discuss how services could be delivered. And West Allis could choose to provide services directly or after discussion and or planning, MPS could provide services on behalf of West Allis. But that is a conversation between West Allis and MPS. The vendors are not expected and should not be involved at that level of conversation. The other scenario is an example of an out-of-district student attending a different non-public school that is also outside of the Milwaukee Public School District boundaries. So if you having two non-public schools that are both outside of the district, which this example here, Martin Luther High School, located outside of MPS district boundaries, has a student from Greenfield, which is also outside of our district boundaries, and that student needs services. Martin Luther, located in Greendale, connects with Greenfield to notify them of that student. Greenfield is responsible to deliver services. That is not MPS's responsibility. In both scenarios, the vendor who is contracted through MPS does not get involved or initiate anything. If MPS is brought to the table to have discussion and possibly be requested to provide services for a non-public school that is in our district, then we will communicate to the vendor for any communication that may become necessary. But unless we connect with the vendor, this is a district to district discussion, and those plans must be made by the LEA where the student is residing. Does that make sense? Any questions about that?
So, Maura,
Mm-hmm.
when we are requesting, or if we have a student that's enrolled,
Mm-hmm.
as we know, students may drop last minute. So, if we want to approach the schools now and say they are enrolled and they qualify for title, we do not need a parent signed form yet. We just contact the schools and say these are the students that would be eligible, and we get that rolling. Is that the idea?
Yeah,
And
that
then
is.
we would worry about the forms and all the logistics as we come into the school year.
That is correct because what we need to do is we need to just make sure that there's an allocation set aside for the student.
Perfect.
A
Okay.
parent consent form would be meaningless if there's no allocation for the student to receive services under. So yes,
Perfect.
this early communication, and we know that some families are mobile, we get it, but at least if they know that you have that child and or children there, they can begin to set aside allocation to be used if it is needed.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
No problem. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on.
More, there was a question in the chat. I don't know if you
Oh,
wanted to go
I'm
back for
sorry.
Liz. No, 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 it's okay.
Okay.
Liz, were you able to address that question in the chat?
Yes, and we'll
Oh,
send
yeah, I
it
think she
a
answered
response.
that. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. I
Yeah.
missed it. My
No, thank you for
apologies.
keeping your eye on the chat, though. Appreciate it. Okay, this is just a reminder for Title I and Title III summer school. For Title I, students can only receive services at the school they were on the eligibility list. We just talked about family mobility and students changing schools and possibly districts, but the summer school services are tied to the school where the student was on the eligibility list and received services. Includes students that receive services during the 24-25 school year. So they had to have services at some point in this fiscal year in order to be able to partake in summer school.
For Title III, all identified English learners may participate in the Title III summer programming, and English learners who scored above that 5.0 on the access test are still eligible to participate, and that's the same example that we have above.
Any questions about summer school? I do want to say, I understand it's not on the slide here, but we do often share this reminder. Title 1A summer school cannot be commingled with any choice program and or choice summer school. They have to remain separate. Our attendance, everything like that, that the vendor will be working with you to collect the daily attendance, any materials and supplies used, that is all for Title 1 only. It cannot be commingled with choice program summer school.
Dr. Anderson, there's a question in the chat. For Title I summer school, is it still small group? No more than 8 at a time.
When you work with your vendors to complete the summer school plan, it's up to 15 for summer school. So one teacher, the ratio is 1 to 15, one teacher to 15 students. And we do make sure that we have the vendors work with the schools because we know we want the programs to operate as efficiently as possible. But if we do not have the enrollment, we may have to make some adjustments. Any adjustments that would be made that first week. We will not, have anyone linger on in employment and then, let them know suddenly. So any adjustments that may need to be made will be made in the first week, but the ratio is 1 to 15. That help?
Dr. Anderson, can I just ask the question? I can't type fast enough.
Okay. Go ahead. That's fine. You can unmute.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So with the Title I summer school, I know it can't be commingled. Can it run simultaneously?
Wait, say it again now.
Can it run simultaneously with,
Oh, yeah, in separate areas of the building, you're asking?
yes,
Oh,
or like
yes.
separate classrooms?
Or
So
separate classrooms? Yes, we can't, the students cannot be shared, the
okay,
materials cannot be shared.
okay,
The plan that you make for Title I summer school cannot be inclusive of any materials and or services that are part of the choice. But yes, you could
okay,
have a choice program, just can't be commingled with Title
fantastic.
One.
Yeah, thank you
Nope,
so
thank
much.
you for asking that clarifying question. Yeah, that's what this time is for. So, yeah, if you need to unmute, like I said, if it's something that is a more detailed response, we'll get it back to you in email, but either unmute or type it in the chat. Okay, any other questions about summer school? All right, we are rounding the corner, and if you did not see on the agenda, there will be Title III learner identification training immediately following our slides here. So if you need to stay on for that, we are nearing the end of our slides, but moving forward with paying across fiscal years. So our fiscal year ends, as everyone know, June 30th. And again, working closely with your vendor, we need to make sure all materials and services requested are delivered and or received by or before that date. We do close our books out for the 24-25 school year. And if it's not accounted for by June 30th, we cannot use that as part of this fiscal year's claim. So please make sure that, as you're getting your approvals from the vendors and things like that, you're acting as soon as immediately as possible to make sure you have everything received and or provided by or before June 30th. NPS does not prepay. So again, once you receive your approvals, thank you in advance for doing your due diligence to get started right away on accessing those services and or materials. The only exception to prepay is the cost for July PDs. And I know there's been some questions and possibly some confusion around this, so I want to hopefully set it straight today. Um, because the July PD is so early in the fiscal year, especially if it includes travel, registration for July PDs, and this includes if it's an early bird registration as well, those should take place, not can, should take place, and should be charged to the June invoice. That is still the registration fee only the registration fee. The travel plans, the any other aspect to the travel will be charged against the July invoice after the travel has been completed. So the key here is we're only talking about July PDs, nothing beyond July. And then again, this includes early bird registration. If there's a PD that is taking place in July, especially if travel is included, because you need to purchase your flight at least 30 days beforehand, or whatever mode of transportation you're planning to use. So July PDs registration only may be paid and charged to the June invoice. Here's the caveat though. Once that registration is paid, we need all of the proof of information, all of the supporting documentation to show proof that that was paid for. Whether it's out of the staff member participating, however that payment, we've seen different pay structures, but we need all of the proof that the registration was paid for, and then we can charge that reimbursement to the June invoice. So please tell me, is that clearer now? Any questions about July PD?
Thank you for that, Dr. Anderson. Just an additional question. What about a PD, for example, that has 6 sessions attached to it? About 3 of the sessions it starts in May, but then there's a couple sessions that are after July, specifically the letters training that's happening. It starts in May. They have, I believe, 6 sessions. So it's a May, June, I think 2 in June, and then there's some in July. I think the last one is in August.
So, Miss Shelley, if you're still on the call, I am going to reach out for support with that answer. And if she's no longer on the call, Sharice will discuss it as a department, and I'll get a response out to the entire non-public listserv.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you
Yes, no problem.
for what you said prior to about the July.
Absolutely, absolutely. We all want to be on the same page. And again, we want to make sure you get the services that your staff needs. So
Thank you.
we'll get an answer out for that, okay?
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Um, okay, if there are no other questions about that, then um, private schools cannot obligate funds. Private school officials should not be responsible for ordering materials. Private school officials should not be responsible for setting up professional development. Private school officials should not be setting up Title I-A teacher schedules or having the Title I teacher report to private school officials. Again, these are the vendor staff and must be kept separate from a school association as staff. Private school officials should not be responsible for setting up family engagement events. Licenses, invoices, when using title funding, should not be in the private school official's name or the private school name at all. You may not use a credit card from the school or the school's checking account to enter in contract. Well, actually, you can't even enter into contract. We know that sometimes there might be a discussion about something that you think might be good for your school, but that is the basic level that you can engage in. If you find that it's something that may be desirable, then you share that information with your vendor, and then the vendor can go through and help to arrange those services. So the private school officials should not be engaging in any way with payments, contracts, or anything like that. And then for scheduled PD coaching, scheduled PD coaching prior to approval of the NA, that is an example of obligating funds. So you must have an approved response. We know that it's an allowable expense, but you have to have our approval, in some type of record so that you can submit that supporting documentation with the invoice when you're seeking your reimbursement. Any questions about that? Okay, then. This is the last slide of business, but there are a couple more slides before Liz does the English learner training. For vendor storage, so we just completed our first fiscal year responding to requests that came out of this group for the consultation meetings with non-public school leaders. We were asked to make available items from other vendor storage inventories. And as a result of that request and the follow-up consultation with the vendors that we had, we resulted in a plan where the third-party vendors include a combined vendor storage inventory spreadsheet that should be accessible to school leaders via the updated monthly school consultation meeting. And that handout, I believe I have that handout in your zip folder. If not, when I send the follow-up message today, I'll add it. But there's a link there, but the available materials should be discussed at minimum monthly during your consultation meeting. Um, the CA department will provide vendors a link to populate the required information on that spreadsheet, and then they are responsible for updating that information every 15th of the month. So, like I said, at least at minimum, when you meet monthly with your vendor, you should have access to whatever storage items may be available, regardless as to which vendor has the material in their storage. The key piece about this is that you let your vendors know during that meeting. This is a vendor to vendor contact. School leaders should not be contacting vendors regarding requests for materials. It's a vendor to vendor contact, but you let your your service provider know what you're interested in receiving during that meeting. And you are able to request items from whichever titles you participate in. So, for example, schools that are out of the district boundaries of Milwaukee Public Schools can only request and access vendor storage materials out of Title I because that is the only title that you can participate in. But if you're a non-public school within our district and you participate in all other titles, you can request from all other titles, but only the titles that you participate in. Are there any questions about the vendor storage? Does anyone have any information you want to share about the storage if you used it? I mean, there's not a requirement to share, but I do want to leave space if there are any questions or concerns about this process. All righty then. We did put the program calendar. Already planning for FY 25-26. So the main uh, point that we want to acknowledge, we just passed the final date to submit materials this April 30th. So for FY 26, the year-end deadline for PA submittal is April 30th. Again, and I do have to say, this is a hard deadline. There were some PAs that came in after the 4 p.m. deadline. And on future communications, as we get into the school year, we always put that deadline. It is on your calendar at 4 p.m. So any PAs that came in past that deadline, unfortunately, will not be reviewed for this fiscal year, but you can work with your vendors to submit it pending next year's allocation, pending FY 26 allocation. So just I'm letting you know that because I have you with me now. I don't want you to be alarmed when you begin to receive some of the feedback because we do have a uniform response for PAs that fall in that category. The other thing about the calendar, again, we are focused on providing timely services. We want to make sure that everyone is accessible and have the opportunity to consult with us. It is a requirement that we consult with you in an ongoing fashion. So we work really hard to make sure you have those dates in advance. Please make sure as you're making your plans to the best of your ability, keep those dates in mind so that you will be able to consult with us moving forward. We hope you had a wonderful and safe fiscal year 25, and we're looking forward to an even better fiscal year 26. And with that in mind, we just encourage you to remind us when changes occur in your school. We had a perfect example where Dr. Easley was letting us know they're adding students every year. We didn't know that. And so now that we do, we can work to see how to best support that school, not just with your enrollment. If you have service provider or school changes in leadership, inform your service provider who will let us know, or you can contact us directly as well. Changes in leadership, school closings, school openings, if the school is moving locations or adding locations, that's all information we need to know because it depends on, especially in the case of school moves, we've had it where some schools ended up moving out of the district and then lost title services for that year because it was not already set up as an out of district location. So, just any changes, please make sure to inform your service providers. They will connect with us. We meet with them weekly, minimum bi-weekly, and or if you need to reach out to us for any questions or concerns, feel free to do that. Are there any questions about anything that we've discussed so far? All right, then this ends the ESE Title 1, 2, 4 portion of the conversation or discussion, rather, consultation. If you are receiving or looking into receiving title services, I'm going to turn you over to Liz now.
Thank you. And today I'll just provide a brief overview of the English learner identification process. And then there's additional training scheduled for next week. For Title III schools, just to help you with a yearly overview of where we're at. Like I stated before, those access score reports are available in WIDA AMS. They may have arrived at your school already, but they should be there by the end of the week. You can use that information when you're planning for your needs assessments, which are due July 1st, 2025, and that's for the schools who participated in the 24-25 access testing. There's going to be those additional English learner identification training sessions where we'll review more in depth the home language survey, WIDA accounts, and the Google Sheet, which is the communication tool that we use since we do not share the same system. That's a good time for additional staff members to attend. So if you have secretaries, counselors, teachers that may be involved in the process, that would be a great thing to invite them to. Those links are in the agenda and at the end of this slideshow. And this question, or the question that Carrie had about the training for the WIDA screener. So this is something that school leaders should plan for, is getting your staff recertified and trained for the WIDA screener and the Access Test Administration. It is self-paced and it's online. And then access test preparation really is from August through October, and the testing window is usually in December, January. And the EL identification process is ongoing as new students enroll. And this is an overview visual of the English learner identification process timeline. And this should ideally be done as students enroll as close to possible. We do try to hit 30 days in MPS, but we know that sometimes things take a little bit longer, especially at the beginning of the year. So ideally within a reasonable time from enrolling in your school. And so when a student enrolls, the school will administer the home language survey, add eligible students to that Google Sheet, and email MPS with student names and the completed home language survey attached as a PDF. And then the school will administer and score the WIDA screener and email that PDF of the score report to MPS. And then the school will access test during the access testing window. This is a visual of the Wisconsin Home Language Survey form, which is commonly referred to as the HLS. There are some areas that are circled in red. Please make sure that everything is fully complete before sending it in. Otherwise, we may need to send it back to you. So as thoroughly as you can do it, that would be appreciated. It helps that process go smoothly. And a reminder, this HLS should be done interview style and not just sent home in like a folder. So the expectation is that it's done interview style by a school staff member, and it should be administered in a language that the parents understand. We recommend that schools make the home language survey part of the enrollment process and give to all incoming students, and consider having multiple staff members who are trained in administering the HLS to all newly enrolled students. Like I said before, secretaries, counselors, and other staff members may be helpful to support in this process. And this is a snippet of the EL identification Google Sheet that we have shared with your school staff. It's our communication and tracking tool to monitor student progress during the English learner identification process. This document is maintained and checked for accuracy by school staff because MPS does not have access to your school enrollment records or student information systems. And this information is also used when adding students to the access testing roster. And please be aware that inaccurate student information may cause rostering issues. So we want to be very precise with this document. And just a reminder, student eligibility. So all newly enrolled students may receive the Title III services once these documents have been submitted to MPS and verified. So it's a valid home language survey indicating students should be screened, a completed screener score report, or a qualifying access score of 4.9 or lower. And once these steps are completed and documents have been received and verified by MPS, those qualifying students can begin participating in Title III services. Okay, and this is a screenshot of the screeners through WIDA. And as we discussed a little bit before, students will need to screen before we can determine if they're an English learner. And in order to do that, staff members will need to be trained on administering and scoring. And since the window to identify students is fairly short, we recommend that you plan ahead for when this self-paced online training will take place. And so you will determine which of your staff members will need to be trained, and then email MPS's Research and Assessment Department to request accounts be set up in WIDA. And lastly, you would take the specific trainings based on the students in your school. So if you're a high school, you would not need to take the kindergarten access for ELLs. And if you need additional support or the certification and scoring rights, please contact Jill. She's the assessment specialist. She's very responsive, and her email is there. In the off event that she's out, Bob would take over, and Dr. Collins is the manager if you need additional help. And there's going to be some more in-depth training. So this is if you have new staff members, people that might need additional support or a refresher. Anyone new to Title III, this would be a good starting point. We will review the home language survey. There's an opportunity to kind of walk through your own Google Sheets and look through the WIDA screener. So next Monday at 2 o'clock, and the link is there. Otherwise, Wednesday at 9 a.m. And if either of those dates do not work for your school, because we know you're very busy and things are happening all the time, please reach out and we will find a time that works for you.
Awesome, Liz. Are there any questions for Liz?
There is a question about naming, where to put student names who are already
Oh,
identified as English learners from the previous school. Um, I, the names can be added to the Google Sheet, and then Rita will do some communication with the individual schools. And can the training links be put via email? So you could click on the link. I can work with Dr. Anderson so you guys can have that.
okay, good question. Well, you all know I like to be able to give you time back. This time I'm giving you 23 minutes back. Hopefully you can use them wisely. I do appreciate you and your collaboration in this consultation. We will see you again when we start up for the September consultation. Well, actually, for new administrators in the school, we will run that new administrator training that is on the title calendar. So just start getting yourself acclimated to the upcoming dates. And then, as always, I will send you out an invitation prior. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. What train? Oh, stop the